um,
Good.
okay, so I hope that everyone can see my slides there now.
Yep. Ready? I'll let you go.
I'm going to do a little personal presentation just about me and my own organization at York, and I want to say thank you, of course, to Hind and Rob for putting this together. I'm the Associate Director of York University's English Language Institute, and I'm really sort of glad to be able to talk a little bit about the experiences that I've had over the last 9 or 10 months. I think we were sort of lucky in the fact that we had hybrid courses already, and that made it a little easier for us to be able to shift to being fully online. But what we had at the beginning, and the reason for this title was, we were really an emergency remote teaching situation, where we were trying to hurriedly take what we were doing face to face and then just replicate it online. And now I think we are beginning to enter into a new space where we can begin to build with this space in mind. And I think that's, quite a different space than where we started from. Emergency remote teaching is not the same thing as online distance learning. We were in triage mode, as I'm sure all of you were, in the first few weeks, trying to figure out how we could survive. And I think what we've tried to do now is to optimize the quality of our instruction by looking at ways that we can do what we do better than what we were doing before. And so I hope that I can describe, with the sort of humble journey that we've been on, that you might be able to find some way of connecting to that and maybe taking something from it as well. So the things I was going to look at today are really these 7 pieces. And I've kind of placed them in rough chronological order so that we can talk about the thought process that we had as we were beginning to plan for our online environment. So the first thing that we wanted to do was to make sure that our teaching staff were well supported and that there was an equal playing field. Of course, there's always teachers who have more of an interest in technology than others, and we knew that that wouldn't work unless we were all, equals. And so the first thing we did was to set about creating an online teaching platform where we could share our best practices. And we called it the Hub. On the left, you can see that what we did is we had 11 different tiles with FAQs and tools and materials and conferences and webinars. And we had a manager who would take what teachers and staff were inputting and then curate them by placing them into those tiles so that everything was easy to find and everything was easy to use. So the goal behind the project was to try to replicate a space that was similar to our office kitchenette, where teachers could engage in some form of shop talk, so that we would have like forums, and we've added in things like a reading club in that space as well, just to try to replicate that sort of homey feeling that we had when we were all face to face. And the image on the right is, of course, some of the content that we've placed, in the Hub, where, we've provided material to try to get at what a whole student might want in an online environment. So here you can see that we have, open access material on kindness and integrity, as well as a lesson plan on exploring the Indigenous people of Canada to really get that immersive, ability with our content and still have our students feel as though they're connected and grounded and immersed in the local culture. And the next thing that we wanted to be able to do was to look at our sort of online proctoring and testing. And so what we had at the start, we were lucky enough before the pandemic to be using the tool Examity for our online proctoring. You could say that York has a bit of a testing culture, at least in the past when we were face to face. And so we we had difficulty when the pandemic, of course, first hit, given that so much of that online proctoring was human-based and people were getting sick. We wanted to switch to an AI-based system. So we switched over to Proctorio and then finally to ProctorTrack before we realized that we didn't really need to bark up this tree, at least not yet. What we found was that in our effort to try to create a secure testing environment, we were actually losing a little bit of the student experience. They were becoming more stressed at having to deal with an additional layer of technology. There was issues with firewalls and those sorts of things. And so now what we've done is we've actually stripped out all of those systems and instead changed our program to something that's less test focused. And that's been working for us fairly well. We also have a couple of placement tests. We use Duolingo as well as the Michigan Language Assessment in order to be able to, make sure that we have everything that we need to handle students' placement issues across the world. And then the next thing that we realized is that we needed to be able to appeal to the whole student. And so one of the things that we wanted to make sure, and we did very early on, it was a very large project for us. We have 5 different programs with multi-level content. And so we knew right away that if we only did synchronous classes with our students, that we would only be appealing to one type of learner. And in a way, we'd be shutting out some of that work. And so we spent hundreds of hours in the first session building asynchronous content, which allows students to be able to go at their own pace. And so for students who want to have a more self-directed approach, they can. So what we've done is we've built 3 hours a day of synchronous and 1 hour of asynchronous so that students are constantly supported in the way that they feel best suits them. And for us, that was a tremendous project because it allowed us to also invest in ourselves, to learn H5P and to learn more about our LMS tools to be able to survive and go from there. And I think it's also important, to be able to, we were under tremendous pressure at the beginning to get up and running and to meet our students' needs. And so there was a lot of stress at the beginning. But one of the things that we wanted to make sure that we had time for was to give everyone enough of a sandbox that they could explore and create things that maybe didn't have an immediate practical value, but were something that would feed the teacher or staff's soul. And so one of the projects that we did in March was we went out and took photos with a 360 camera of all of our extracurricular activities. So even though our students weren't able to go to Niagara Falls or any of these sorts of places, we could still, in a way, bring that content to them by having them see the virtual tour and interact with all of the images and the audio and the links that accompanied it. And so in this way, we were able to build out something that would hopefully appeal to students, but also give our teachers a way that they could express their creativity. And that's something that we're still working on. And I think the next thing that was important for us as well was to be able to deliver something for the whole student using technology. And so we looked for ways to partner with our university, as you can see from the middle photo here. We tried to find ways to blend in experiential learning using different types of technology. One of the things that we did was partner up with Lausanne, the engineering school, in order to be able to run UNESCO's Sustainable Development Goals and to build a project that was student directed and fun and in their off hours and give them that sense of accomplishment. And we did that through volunteering and other forms of engagement as well. And I think the other thing that we wanted to make sure is that we also took that same lighthearted approach to us. Here you can see one of our staff meetings where it happened to be Halloween, and we wanted to make sure that we were all in our virtual costumes. and participating and sort of letting the creative juices flow as well. And finally, I think what we saw with this approach was that technology has opened us up to new possibilities to sort of shape and structure what we do, and to make sure that we can attack a number of different things. This is me here doing a recruitment session being piped into Japan, and one of the interesting things is that this wasn't something that would have been possible in the past, but now with technology, our hierarchy has become flattened, and we've become more nimble and flexible. And so technology has really helped us to get through a difficult time in these last 10 months. And I think it's been transformative for us on a number of levels. And I hope that this little journey today not only helped us build resilience and adapt, but hopefully has given you some things to think about as well. So thank you for allowing me to talk to you today, and my contact information is there. And enjoy the rest of the presentations.